Welcome to Fabrica Upfront. For some days now, the Oronsaye report has been trending. And that is because the president has ordered an implementation of the now 12-year-old report.
The fact that our administration has taken a very bold step towards implementation on aspects of the Oronsaye panel report, which speaks to mergers, subsuming, scrapping and relocation of parastatals, agencies and commissions of federal government. This is in line with the need to reduce cost of governance and ensure that we have streamlined efficiency across the governance value chain. We'll go through quickly the list of agencies that.
First off, what is the Oronsaye report? In 2011, former President Goodluck Jonathan set up a presidential committee on the rationalization and restructuring of federal government parastatals, commissions, and agencies, and it was headed by former head of service, Saving Oronsaye. So now you know where the name came from. The idea was to examine the bloated civil service and cut down costs of governance or government spending. This was necessary because the administration at the time considered the government too big. Now, the 800 pages report had several recommendations totaling 268. It recommended for some agencies to be scrapped, merged, or relocated. Back in 2012, when this report was submitted, there were reportedly 541 statutory and non-statutory federal government parastatals, commissions, and agencies. The report recommended that 263 of the statutory agencies be slashed to 161, 38 agencies be scrapped, and 52 be merged, while 14 were to be reverted to departments in various ministries. Now, since the report was submitted, more MDAs, ministries, and parastatals have been created. In fact, activist and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, had argued that the report cannot be implemented anymore as it is now outdated and obsolete. He argued that since the report was published, the number of ministries, agencies, and parastatals had increased to 1,316. And even this administration had created an additional 5 ministries. The news of the Oronsaye report had been met with commendation in some quarters and skepticism in other quarters. While skepticism, this is because after the recommendations in 2012, a white paper was submitted in 2014. But the Goodluck administration did not implement it before it left office. And in 2020, former President Muhammadu Buhari ordered the report to be implemented. And November 2021, the federal government set up 2 committees. One of the committees was to review the Stephen Oronsaye report and its white paper, chaired by Goni Aji, a retired head of the civil service of the Federation. The second committee was constituted to review agencies created from 2014 till date, and that was chaired by Amal Pepple, also a retired head of the civil service of the Federation. The committees were given 6 weeks to turning their report. After that, another 8-member committee was inaugurated in July 2022 to produce a white paper. However, after all of these, the Muhammadu Buhari administration left office without also implementing the report. So here we are again with the same Oronsaye report. The Tinubu administration is being viewed as using this as another talking point for a few reasons, some of which are as follows. He has the largest cabinet ever in Nigerian presidents. 48 ministers were appointed in total. He also created 5 additional ministries and other agencies when he took office. So when you look at the number of special assistants, special advisors, and senior special assistants, he has the largest number compared to former presidents. So the question is this: was the Oronsaye report not a renewed hope agenda? Is this an afterthought, or is it only supposed to affect civil servants and not political appointees of the president? These are questions the president hasn't yet answered. It is no news that Nigeria has an overbloated civil service that cost the government a fortune to maintain. In November 2023, the Punch newspaper reported that the federal government's recently agreed wage with the Labour Congress and salaries to federal workers and other non-debt recurrent costs are expected to gulp 7.76 trillion. And this is based on data from the initial 2023 budget and the 2023 supplementary budget. Now, the supplementary budget will increase the total non-debt recurrent expenditure of the federal government to 7.76 trillion and capital expenditure to 4.53 trillion. Now, of the 7.76 trillion budgeted for recurrent expenditure, at least 4.31 trillion naira, that is 55.54% of it, will be spent on salaries. That is almost the same as what would have been spent on capital expenditure in 2023. Back in August 2023, the Director General of the Budget Office of the Federation, Ben Akabweze, stated that there are 1.5 million workers on the federal government's payroll. 1.5 million, basically making it gets capital expenditure to 30% every budget cycle. He even argued that the role of government was to create an enabling environment for the private sector to create jobs and that government should not be a direct job creator. This a lot of people will agree with. But it is interesting to note because the Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, has reassured civil servants that no one will lose their job in this exercise, even though that seems very unlikely. But there's already trepidation in some quarters that that will happen, going by a recent Daily Post report. This government has prided itself on taking bold decisions that its predecessors have failed to do. But have they really gone through with these decisions? Case in point, removal of fuel subsidy. The president gleefully announced that it was gone on the day he was sworn in. Only for Business Day to report recently that we're now paying almost 1 trillion naira, which is more than twice of what was paid as subsidy when he was sworn in May 2023. Finally, I hope this is not another elephant project to siphon money with different committees being set up as is the usual by Nigerian governments. Hopefully, this does not end up like the Ajaokuta Steel project that is revived by every administration, including this one. If the president wants to be seen as taking this seriously, maybe he should consider trimming his cabinet and reducing the number of ministers, special assistants, and special advisors. After all, charity, they say, begins at home. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Fabrica Upfront.